Hey guys, I've got a really fun, exciting video for you today. We are going to be trying some new makeup. I've got some things that I've been kind of hoarding over the past month or so. I have the new Guerlain sculpting powder matte finish in the shade Light. I have the YSL 3D all over glow powder, which is a very interesting product. I have the new Persona blushes. I have the new Glossier Skywash matte liquid eyeshadows, cream eyeshadows that I wanted to play with. And last but not least, we are going to be playing with the new Pat McGrath concealer system. So I have the concealer, I have the concealer brush, and I have the blurring under eye powder. This video is sponsored by Pat McGrath. I could not be more excited and more thrilled to be working with them. As you guys know, I love Pat McGrath. I love her. I love her artistry. I love her makeup line. I am so excited to be doing this video. And even though this is a sponsored video, I am going to be sharing with you my 100% honest experience with it. I'll be sharing my thoughts with you as I apply them, as I always do. But thank you so much to Pat McGrath for sponsoring this video. So I already have foundation down so that we could jump right into the concealer. I have the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation on, and I have it in the shade Light 6. So that is what I have on my face today. You guys probably, I don't know, you may or may not remember, but a few weeks ago, probably a month ago at this point, I actually purchased the concealer and the blurring under eye powder myself. So I have the shade L7, and then I have the powder Light. So they sent me the shades L4 through L6. I told them that I had L7. So we're gonna be swatching all of these because there are 36 shades in this concealer. I think the nuances between each shade are very, very minimal, and I think it's great that there's 36 shades, but I think it can get a little bit confusing, like which one to get. So hopefully swatching all 4 of these colors will be really helpful. And then of course we'll be using the brush to apply it. And they also sent over the shade Medium for the powder. Since I had Light, this concealer is supposed to be a full coverage concealer. It's supposed to have a matte but radiant finish. So to me, that kind of reads skin-like. So I'm really, really interested in trying this product out. So let me go ahead and open all of these products and get them out of their packaging. All right, so I have the 4 concealers out, and they are really, they're really, really similar. So this is L7, and then this is L4. So L7, 6, 5, 4. And I don't think necessarily from each of the shades it's supposed to get lighter. I think if I remember correctly from the website, the undertones are supposed to be different. And so I see that, like this one looks the most yellow. These look a little bit cooler. This one looks kind of neutral. So let me go ahead and swatch all of these. And while I'm swatching all of these, just a note on the packaging. These are very, very weighty, and this is actually glass, not plastic. And the applicator is pretty basic doe foot applicator. It has a nice point at the end, which is really nice. All right, so here are the shades. And again, I don't think that they're actually like lighter versus darker. I think the undertones just change a bit. So this one is L7, this is L6, L5, and L4. L4 looks like peachy red, and L7 looks kind of like peachy yellow. And then these two look the most neutral, which is what I normally gravitate towards. So I think for me, I would use L6 if I'm just kind of going for a regular kind of, concealer look, nothing too brightening. And L5, I think I would use if I wanted to brighten up a bit. It's just a hint lighter than L6. And I'm just sitting here with the swatches on my hand because I want to see if they oxidize at all, but I'm not seeing that at all, which is very, very good. So I think I'm going to try 5 and 6. I think I'll try 6 on one side and maybe 5 on the other, and we'll go from there. All right, so here is L6, and I'm going to apply this to my right eye. And because this has fairly full coverage, and I don't generally wear like very full coverage concealers, I'm gonna go slow. I'm gonna put just a couple dots underneath my eye there. And then I'm gonna use the brush that was released at the same time as this collection was, and it's meant to be used with the concealer. It has this really interesting shape. It's kind of like oval if you look at it straight on, and then it's angled. I think I read somewhere that this is like a 40-degree angle. It's very, very stiff, so it's going to move a lot of product, which I think is great for a concealer. The only thing I wanted to note was this handle is very short. So just wanted to point that out. It'll be really travel friendly for sure. So let me blend in with this brush. And I'm just kind of using like tapping motion. Wow, this is definitely full coverage. I just put those like 5 little dots down there, and I think that's probably enough. Well, it definitely spreads out and blends in really easily. This brush is decent. I definitely want to try this side with my finger just to see how that works. But that blended in really easily, really nicely. And I tend to stay away from fuller coverage concealers because they just tend to look really, I don't know, cakey, and they kind of end up aging my under eye. But so far this is really smoothing, and it's really kind of blurring. So this was just those 5 dots. I blended out with this brush, and I think it looks pretty nice. Of course, time will tell, but at the moment, I think it looks pretty good. And I like this L6 shade. I think it works really nicely. In fact, I feel like it's quite brightening, so maybe I won't go down to the L5. Maybe what I'll do is try the L7 over on this side, which had that kind of like peachy yellow kind of undertone. Maybe I'll use that on this side and just see what that looks like. But the L6 really does look like a nice match. I just want to see if this blends in nicely if I just use my finger. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put some dots under here. Again, because this is so full coverage, I really don't want to go in and just like swipe a whole bunch of product down. I just don't think that would look very good. All right, well, it definitely blends in very, very quickly. That just took a few taps, and I didn't realize how awkward this was going to be because I haven't been able to get my nails done. And I don't think my nails have ever been this long. And so I'm like poking myself in the eye. Now I'm only realizing how long my nails are. Oh my God. So there's the L7 and there's the L6. I kind of like the L6 better because it does a little bit of brightening, but it's not like overkill. And that's really interesting because the foundation shade that I use in the Pat McGrath foundation is L6, and that's the concealer that I like too. So if you have her foundation, it's probably a good guide as to figuring out like which concealer you need. So I'm going to take the L6 and just tap a little bit onto the L7 just to see if I can lighten it up a little bit. Also to see like how much more coverage I can get. And because I have claws, I'm just gonna go back to the concealer brush because this worked out just fine. And I'm just pouncing this brush. Because this brush is so dense and the bristles are so stiff, I just don't think it would be very pleasant to swipe. So I'm just kind of stamping, and that seems to be working fine. So there's the L6 on top of the L7. So we've got like basically 2 light layers of the concealer here and just one over here. I definitely like the lighter layer. I think if you put a little bit too much on, I will say it's starting to look a little cakey. So I personally like one thin layer under the eye because I think this side looks pretty phenomenal. All right, so that is the concealer applied with the brush. Let's move on to the blurring under eye powder. I'm actually really excited for this. So I'm not sure if I mentioned the concealer is $32, the brush is $32, and these powders are $30. So again, I have light here and I have medium. So I want to put light under one eye and medium under the other and just see if we can see a difference. So I'm pulling out my trusty Wang airbrush. So I'm going to start with light, and this is what light looks like. It's pretty much like a white powder. I don't know if swatching it will even help. I don't think you can even see it on the back of my hand, but you can get a sense of how white it is. And then just a quick note of the packaging in here. This is all plastic, and then there's like a teeny tiny mirror in here, which I can't even see my eye in there, so it's not very useful, but I'm gonna go in with the Wang airbrush. And again, this is the shade light. So again, I'm gonna go in real light. I don't want my under eyes to look dry or anything. And I'm just going to kind of pat this on. There is definitely like a subtle white cast there, so it's definitely very, very brightening. Wow, and just that little bit of powder. Can you see the difference? Whoa. I see a little bit of like a blurring effect. Can you guys see that? It looks like a little filtered. That actually looks really nice. I'm surprised, like touching the powder and looking at it and seeing it on my brush, I thought for sure it was going to make my under eyes look dry, but it's definitely mattified my under eye, but I don't think it looks very dry actually. I think it looks just blurred. I think it looks really, really filtered. Okay, I'm just kind of like pressing in this concealer again on this side because I have 2 layers, and again, I don't think it looks that great, the 2-layered side, and I want to give this medium powder a fair shot. But here is the medium, and this one definitely has more of a flesh tone to it. Hold on, let me hold it up next to the light. So here is light and here is medium. All right, I'm going to use the other side of my airbrush and go into this medium powder. Again, just picking up a little bit, and I'm going to press the powder on. Well, I can definitely see the tint difference. Can you guys see that? This is so much brighter and cooler toned. And this side, I actually see like a little bit of like peachiness right here, just right at like the bottom of where I applied the powder. Interesting. I do think the powder helped, but I feel like it really blurred and like softened up like the makeup-y look that was kind of going on underneath this eye. I feel like it looks a lot smoother and like more integrated, I guess you could say, with like the rest of my makeup. I really like this powder. You guys know I really like a matte like under eye powder, despite the fact that I have dry skin and I like glowy everything else. There's something about the under eyes that I really like, kind of like a matte powder there. I don't know, I feel like if I look too shiny underneath my eyes, I just look sweaty. Between the two, like I said, I think they just look different. And I feel like this has the brightening effect, and then the medium side just looks a little bit more like the rest of my skin tone. All right, well that is exciting. Let's move on to the Guerlain contouring powder. Is that what they're calling it? It's the terracotta, oh, sculpting powder, excuse me. The sculpting powder matte finish. I have it in the shade Claire, and I have used this maybe a couple of times, and despite its name of like a sculpting powder, for me it's like a little bit too light. Actually, let me just stop talking and put it on for you so you can see. So I'm just gonna grab my Rephr number 6 brush here, and this powder has that Guerlain terracotta scent, just so that you're aware. If you're not a fan of that scent, you're not gonna like this powder. So I'm just going to kind of brush this all over, give some life to my forehead. All right, so there it is, kind of like lightly dusted all over my face. I did focus it more on the areas that I would normally kind of like contour. And this shade, this Claire color, is a little bit on the lighter side for me in terms of a bronzer, and it's kind of nice because it's goof proof. But I really like just like the natural glow that it gives. So that is the Guerlain sculpting powder with a matte finish in the shade Light. And it definitely has a matte finish, and I generally like my powders to have a little bit of shimmer to them, but it's probably why I don't mind kind of like brushing it all over my face. So that's definitely a benefit to that finish. Let's move on to blush. I'm really, really excited for these blushes. So these are new from Persona. They are the super blushes, and I have Carmel and Georgia. So here is the packaging. It comes in this really cute like white plastic round case, and this is what they look like in there. So this color is Georgia, and this color is Carmel. So Carmel is like cooler, pinky, rosier, and the Georgia is, well, it's like a Georgia peach. So here are the blushes swatched on my hand. So there's Georgia and there's Carmel. I think today I'm gonna go with Carmel because I'm looking at the Glossier Skywashes that I wanna use, and I feel like this is just a little bit of a better match. So I'm gonna go in with my BK Beauty 106 brush. I mean, I guess they're matte, but they're not like a flat, dry looking matte. Like, looks like there's a little something in there. So let's see what they look like actually on the cheek here. Yeah, they look like they have a little bit of a satin sheen, but like the base of it is pretty matte. Oh, interesting. It's almost like a dual finish kind of powder. It's really pretty. I put it on a little bit heavy. I'm just gonna take a powder brush and tone that down just a little bit. I like that. I like that color. Again, I think it has that dual finish, which makes it a little bit less flat, which is really nice. All right, next up is a highlighter that I have just been sitting on. I don't know why I haven't like taken this out to use. Probably because I don't want to ruin the design on the pan. But this is the Melt Cosmetics Illuminacion Digital Dust Highlighter. So this is the one that came out with their Amor Eterno collection. So it has this skull, sugar skull embossing on there. Isn't that fantastic? This has like a really cool like duochrome to it. It's like peachy and pink. You guys see that like shine in there? It's like a peachy pink. Ooh, it's really cool. All right, let me grab my Sonia G Sculpt 2 brush. Ooh, it picked up a lot. Okay, let me just tap that on to both of the cheeks. Ooh, it looks really pink on the cheeks. Do you guys see that? Ooh, this is definitely not an everyday highlight. That for me. Ooh, it's really, really strong. I like that duochrome, that pinky peachy duochrome. It makes it kind of like cool and warm all at the same time. So that is the Melt Illuminacion Digital Dust Highlighter from their Amor Eterno collection. Okay, for eyebrows, I actually have a new product for eyebrows. I feel like whenever I do trying new makeup, I'm always like, oh, no new eyebrow. Well, you know, I'll do it off camera or whatever. But I actually have a new eyebrow product and I just hauled this for you guys. This is the Dior Show Brow Styler and I got it in the shade 02 Dark Brown. So it's this little pencil here. It's got a spoolie on one side and then it's got a really super fine point. Actually, let me swatch this for you guys too. Ooh, this pencil's really, oh, it's really hard. Oh, it's definitely like mistake proof. There are the little scratches I just made. I feel a little bit less nervous using this now. Nice. I kind of like how hard and waxy this pencil is. Like you can really draw in some subtle like hair-like strokes in there. All right, not bad, not bad. I purchased this product on the recommendation of Alana Davison. I think she was doing either a haul or trying new makeup and she mentioned this and how much she loved it. And I can definitely see why. So that is the Dior Show Brow Styler and in the shade 002 Dark Brown. Okay, next up, eyeshadows. I'm so excited to try out these Glossier Skywash liquid shadows. So these are supposed to be like a matte eyeshadow. Let me swatch these for you too. Like a matte sheer eyeshadow, if I remember correctly. So here is Echo, right? Yeah, this one is Echo. And this one is Pebble. Kind of wish I had something in between those two. I feel like the Pebble's a little bit light and the Echo's a little bit dark. I think what I'm gonna do is just swipe some on my lid and then kind of use my finger to tap out. I thought this was a completely different tone, but it's like, you can't even see it on my lid. It looks exactly the same. These are also supposed to like dry down and be budge proof. All right, let me just put some on the other eyelid just to kind of match it up and then we'll play with the darker color because then at least we'll be able to see if this is in fact smooth or not smooth. Okay, so far for that color, I feel like all it's doing is making my eyelids look a little dry. Okay, let's go in with this Echo color, the darker one. Okay, I'm just gonna tap some onto the outer corner here. I am gonna let it set down a little bit and then I will start tapping. That does not look good. That does not look good at all. It just can't like, I don't know, you can't really get like an even coat of it because it is supposed to be sheer. It's not sheer, it's just kind of patchy. Maybe I need another layer. Then I feel like you're kind of killing the whole Glossier sheer natural vibe. But right now this looks kind of wacky. Wow, that's just kind of looking worse and worse. Maybe I need a brush. I'm gonna go in with this Refer number 2 brush and see if I can move this around. Nope, it's just completely set like that. It looks terrible. Maybe you're supposed to blend out with a brush instead of your fingertip. Let me try that on this side. Okay, I think the brush side is much, much better, but I still feel like you get this kind of same effect if you just use like a matte powder shadow. I don't think there's any advantage in using like a cream. I think it makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm going to try and remove this. All right, I'm trying this one more time, and I'm going to swipe off any excess I have and just tippy tap. Okay, that looks horrible, but I think that's as good as it's gonna get. Oh my goodness. Not great. Not great at all. All right, I'm just gonna apply some of my Pat McGrath Permagel Ultra Glide Eye Pencil in Extreme Black. I'm just gonna tight line with this, and then we'll move on to mascara. Okay, I'm doing a bit of a bolder eyeliner look here because I'm trying to distract you from the Glossier Skywash. I'm just gonna throw on the Chanel Inimitable Waterproof Mascara. I've used this for you guys a couple of times, but I still kind of consider it new-ish. And all of my new lip products I have already kind of like shown you guys. So I'm just gonna throw on the Hermes Beige Kalahari color number 13 because I'm just feeling like a nude today. This is what the Beige Kalahari looks like. All right, and last but not least is the YSL 3D All Over Glow Powder. Now I have played with this a little bit, and it's such an interesting powder because there is actually quite a bit of like pigment to it. And there's also this really interesting kind of like iridescent peachy pinky shift to it. So I tried using it as highlighter, but it was actually a little bit too deep for highlight because it has that like very strong kind of like fleshy tone to it. And then I tried using it as setting powder. It didn't really work well that way, but I did use it as finishing powder one day and I thought it looked really nice. So that's how we're gonna be using this today. And generally I like to really buff in my finishing powder, but because this has like a really pretty sheen to it and has a little bit of pigment, I just kind of like dusting this all over. So I'm gonna go in with a big powder brush. I've got my Hourglass number 1 brush here. I'm gonna go into this powder and I'm just gonna pounce, you know, kind of on the high points here and then brush it lightly everywhere. And it just gives my skin like a really pretty glow, but I do think you can go like overboard with it really quickly because it has like a fairly strong like reflect in there. And me personally, like I don't really want that all over my face. I don't mind it very lightly. Actually, you can see it on my forehead. I don't mind like a little, you know, light kind of like wash of that. So I just feel like I have to be careful when applying this powder. All right, so here is my full face of new makeup. I'm just gonna do a quick check right now because I want to see how the concealer is doing. Yeah, I really like the side that I put that one light layer down. I'm gonna zoom in here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this was the side with the 2 layers. And I feel like I can see a little bit of creasing right there. And I don't see that on this side. This side still looks really, really smooth. So for me, it definitely works better in a lighter way. But I like the texture of the concealer. It's really, really creamy. And I like the coverage that I got by using just a little bit. It really is a full coverage concealer. And I want to say the powder is really quite magical. I have to say, I really like the kind of like blurring effect that it's given me. And because of that little mishap with the Glossier eyeshadow, I have been sitting here for a while. I've been sitting here for over an hour doing my makeup and it's looking really, really good. And this brush, I have to say, was fairly decent. I do wish it had a longer handle, but because I'm just kind of like pouncing with it anyway, it doesn't really make a difference. It's not like I need a lot of handle length for that. But this brush actually worked really nicely when I kind of like pounced the concealer out. You guys saw it just did it really, really quickly. And I didn't feel like I needed to swipe to kind of blend it in. It just kind of did it very effortlessly. So I really like this brush too. Pretty much liked everything except for this Glossier Skywash. I'm so sorry. I love Glossier, but this was not cute. This did not go on easily. This, yeah, that was not good. Everything else, very lovely. So again, a huge, huge thank you to Pat McGrath for sponsoring this video. Thank you so, so much. And leave your comments down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.